It's a program that is designed to give you health information that will allow you to be healthy and take control of your health issues and just to keep you fit, healthy and wealthy.
Errol, can you remember when we were last here, we had Dr. Clarence Ing, and he spoke to us about various things that we should do in the world of diabetes and how we can best manage glucose levels?
Indeed, the Honorable and eminent Dr. Ing from California, United States, was with us on the 15th of December last year. We thank the Lord for him. He's a great man that is doing great pioneering work in the area of diabetes. And that's what our subject was last week, and we will be highlighting and recapping some of the vital information that he shared with us. Also, we have a number of other health officials and guests with us tonight, and I want you to tune in, tell someone about this program, call someone who you know with health issues, any friend, family, relatives, neighbor, loved ones, even enemies and foes. Call them and tell them about Love World TV, a live program which is coming to you called Liberty Hour.
And I would suggest they grab a pen and a piece of paper and start writing things down.
Certainly, there will be relevant information that you will find productive and beneficial. Also bless.
Okay, so let's just recap on what Dr. Ing had to say when he was here. We're going to have a look at some slides, just what Dr. Ing had to say. This man who has devoted his life to helping people with chronic conditions. One of them is type 2 diabetes. When he was here, he said that we should eat whole grain. And I think we had a bit of a discussion about what is whole grain. I've got some examples here at the front. I was just passing me over rice. I think a lot of us love to eat rice, but we like to eat the white variety. Dr. Ing encouraged us to eat whole grain rice, the one with the husk on it. Looks a bit brown, but you get a better blood glucose level if you actually eat the whole grain rice. And there is this other one as well, also whole grain, but for those of you out there who love rice and peas, this one, when it cooks up, is absolutely wonderful. Again, it's whole grain. But other examples of whole grain included things like oats, barley, cornmeal, and so on. But then he also said that we should eat more pulse or legumes. I don't know if you can remember Daniel in chapter 1 when he decided that he wasn't going to eat anything for 10 days bar vegetables, and that would have included pulse. Those of you out there who are familiar with the peas, various peas and things that we can get. I hope I'm not advertising for anybody, but just to give you an idea of what type of things would constitute legumes. Your red peas, your black-eyed peas, your gunga peas, your cow peas, your duku beans. Those are the type of things that Dr. Ing was alluding to. Now, he also said we should drink more water, at least 2 to 3 liters a day. Just the very thought of that for some of us is frightening. But if you want to maintain healthy, wealthy bodies, then that's the best thing to do. He also said to stop drinking fruit juice. And some diabetics have they have a habit of drinking a lot of juice. The thing is, if you drink a lot of juice, it actually goes straight through your stomach lining and hits the blood very, very quickly and raises the blood sugar very, very quickly. So the best thing to do is to stay away from fruit juice. If you're going to have fruit juice, it's better to have the fruit with the fiber. So have the whole fruit. He also talked about eating lots and lots of vegetables and exercise. Said the cheapest form of exercise was to walk and walk. And walk.
Yes, you certainly advocate plenty of walking, at least an hour per day, which is one of the best things that you will be able to do for yourself.
Because some of us can invest in equipment that become very expensive, clothes hangers. So rather than investing in equipment, it's better to just get outside and walk. And some of the ways that we could actually do that, is to probably get off the bus a stop earlier than we normally do, or perhaps get off the tube a stop earlier than we normally do, or walk to work, or do more walking, basically. He advocated the fact that we needed to have 2 to 3 fruits a day as opposed to fruits every minute or more than 2 to fruits a day. That would also allow you to keep the blood sugar stable. And one of the most important things that he said was that we should reduce the amount of animal intake that we have in our diets, and to reduce the saturated fats. And saturated fats mainly come from animal meats, red meats, and so on. So those were some of the important things he said. But he also took us back to the scriptures. And he said that in Genesis chapter 1 verse 29, that God said that he would give every seed bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, there will be our food. When the body is impacted, when the body is challenged, one of the best things to do is to go back to the first food of man. That way you can start the repair process. Going on from that, he said that, just to remind us what God said, that we shouldn't eat any fat or any meat with blood in it.
You have to understand that God is the creator, the producer, the manufacturer, and the constructor of man. And everyone will agree with this point, that man is not the maker of himself. Regardless whether you want to credit God with the credit for making us or not, the fact is we are not the maker of ourselves. Therefore, he has taken credit for it. I give him credit for it. And I hope you do too. However, the fact is, he has given us a formula, a recipe, and ingredients that will keep us in health and keep us longer on the earth than in the earth. And I suggest that we take note of the instructions that the Lord has given us, because a fool despises instruction, but a wise person seek counsel. And God has given us instruction through the Holy Scriptures, the type of things that is good, wholesome, and productive in food.
Just going back to what Dr. Ng was saying, some of the viewers might be concerned about, well, where do they get the protein from? If they're not having animal products, where are they going to get the protein from? Well, you get your proteins from a range of foodstuffs, whole grain, the various pulses that are in front of us, and also nuts. Although they're high in fat, they're also packed full with protein. And I've got some nuts here. Some of us get it covered in chocolate. Get them covered in chocolate, but I've got Brazils, walnuts, cashews, almonds, hazelnuts. Those are all packed full of proteins. Across the range of food, though, what we have is high fiber food, and there are absolute great benefits to them. Let's have a look at the slide and what Dr. Ng reminded us of. He said that a high fiber diet actually improves glucose control because it slows down the transit of food through the digestive tract. It reduces the risk and complications of diabetes, some of which we're going to be talking about later. Reduces the cholesterol. So if some of you are watching who've got high blood cholesterol, it's possibly important for you to begin looking at the type of animal products that you're taking in. And for some of us who may have blood pressure problems, especially high blood pressure, it's one of the ways of reducing high blood pressure. And for those of us who may suffer from things like irritable bowel, constipation, and so on and so forth, it certainly will aid those issues. Isn't that an important fact that he had to say about food?
Most definitely. There are 4 important things in life which you cannot do without. If you try, you do it at your peril. Eating, drinking, air, and information. You need oxygen, you need food for energy, and you need information. I'm not suggesting that they come in that particular order. You can dissimulate them and arrange them, but I suggest you would put oxygen first.
Okay. He talked about doors that we actually have in ourselves. Now, for some of us who have medical minds, those doors are called receptors. But he actually called them doors. And I like to refer to them as doors because when I understood what happened at the door level, I understood how to actually reduce blood sugar levels. Now, this is a typical muscle cell. I've made it simple, it's round, and it's got a pink thing in the middle, which is the nucleus. Let's see what happens with the doors. Well, in carbohydrate metabolism, or how the body uses carbohydrate, it actually breaks it down to glucose. If you look at the tiny blue spots on the red bar represents the blood, and the blue spots represent the glucose molecule. The yellow things are the doors. The aim of the body is to get the glucose into the cell, so the cell can actually get energy.
And what you need to understand is that this is part of the eating process. It is through the eating process you use for survival, and as you eat, this is what the internal mechanism of your body is doing in order to sustain your life. Okay, so insulin, which is produced by the pancreas, is absolutely necessary for glucose to be used by the body. This diagram takes it that little bit further. See what insulin is doing, that little green man with the face? He's actually opening the doors, and by opening the doors, he's actually getting the glucose molecule into that black area, posh name, the mitochondria. And in that actual part of the cell, energy is created, life is created. Okay, but what happens? So as I said before, insulin, it opens the doors and pushes the glucose molecule into the cell. But what happens in diabetes? If you look at the diagram, there's something missing. What's missing? There will always be things missing when you suffer from diabetes, because the body is not working correctly.
The thing that's missing is the door. The yellow door is missing. And the cell is actually saying to the body, saying to the glucose, I don't want any more glucose in here. I am packed full.
That's right. The body will always give you information, and you will find symptoms continuously coming because there's something amiss in your body, as that diagram shows you. There is something missing. The door, which is the entrance to allow the glucose to do what it does, which is give energy, which fuel the body in order for it to function, operate, and maneuver and sustain you.
At this point, most of the glucose, instead of being, in the cell, some of it is actually circulating in the body and raising the blood sugar, and that's when people are usually diagnosed. So how can we make more doors? Well, it's what I said before. Eat more whole grain, eat more whole foods. Just reinforcing the points that we said earlier. Drink more water, avoid fruit juices, walk and walk and walk and walk and walk, and reduce your saturated fats. So the best way to manage glucose is to actually remember what you put in your body. I think someone said sometimes we're actually digging our graves with our teeth. That's sometimes the case. So it's very, very important for us to bear in mind what we put in our body, and also to get more exercise so we can create more doors. Now, bear in mind though, when you start doing these things, that things are going to start changing. Therefore, it's important for you to keep in touch with your health professionals, because once you start changing your diet, once you start changing your lifestyle, once you start exercising, that things are going to begin to change, and you're going to start shifting. You're going to start shifting weight, and you're going to start changing your blood glucose levels. So it's important to keep in contact with them. I can't stress that enough. Keep in contact with them so they can review your medication on a regular basis and keep you in control. Now, last time we spoke, I spoke about this book that we actually published called Managing Diabetes, A Whole Food Approach. It's been acclaimed for its value, its worth in, and we're going to meet someone who has used the principles laid out in this book to reduce his intake of insulin very, very shortly. But for those of you who want to make drastic changes to your blood glucose levels and to have a go at using some recipes that may help you, then this is a book worth buying or worth getting. And you can actually get it from the address and details on the screen. And if you're in the area in Derby anytime, you can always join us for worship at the address given on the screen.
You are watching Love World TV, and this is Liberty Hour. And we thank you very much for joining us. Wherever you are in the world, welcome and God bless you. This is a program that is designed to give you information to help you to control diabetes and to give you information that will help you to prevent diabetes if you are not a sufferer. This is a program that will change your life and make your world a much better place to live. So thank you very much for tuning in. Also, I would like you to understand that what necessitated this program was my co-host and I, unfortunately, we developed diabetes, and as a result of that, we were fortunate enough to meet some people who gave us relevant information that changed our life, the quality of our life, and to prolongate our life. And we were so fortunate and appreciative that in our generosity to healthy living, we have decided to take this information to the world at large. Myself was a diabetic sufferer, and although they tell you that once you develop diabetes, you will always have it, but there is those who specialize in doing their endeavor to reverse diabetes. Some would say it can never be reversed. One thing is sure, you can have an improved life if you get the relevant information, which is what we got, and it has changed our life, and Liberty Hour is giving you the relevant information that will change your life also. We have some guests with us tonight, and we want to welcome them. We have Prince here with us. Prince, welcome to Liberty Hour at Love World TV.
Thank you, Sam.
Welcome, Chris. You've got a very, very important surname. Egeku.
Egeku, yes.
Oh,
that's a kingly name.
Egeku means somebody that listens.
Oh, somebody that listens.
Yes.
And you certainly have been listening.
Okay. Welcome, Prince. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Tell us about your story. Tell us about your journey.
Well, my journey, my story is long, but very fruitful.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My story started sometime in August. I was on holidays to Ireland, Republic of Ireland. I started having dehydration, drinking a lot of water, passing a lot of water. I go to the toilet up to 6 times in the night. So I was losing weight rapidly, and I was losing my vision. I was ignorant of diabetes. I didn't know I was diabetic. I was ignorant until I came back from the holidays. I went to my GP, and I was asked to go to the hospital for blood test. I went to the hospital. After taking the blood test, I came back. I was very weak, tired. I couldn't move. Still, I didn't know that I was diabetic. Then, when I couldn't move, my wife had to rush me to the hospital. When I go to the hospital, I had an emergency. They rushed me in, and I was taken in. Then they discovered I was having, my sugar level was 27.
That's high.
27. That was very high, and the doctors were surprised that I came to the hospital at that stage and nothing happened to me.
As a matter of fact, Prince, mine was twice that level. Mine was 40.1 when I went into hospital, and I was told by the doctor that my body was on the verge of shutting down, and had I left it 24 hours more, I would have been dead. So I'm glad you caught it in time.
But guess what he said the other day? My blood sugar this morning was 3.9.
I tested my blood sugar about 3 days ago, and it had come down from 20.9 when I left the hospital 8 months ago to 3.9, and that's without medication. I've been off medication now for 8 months, total of medication, because I followed the principles of this book, which Pauline Byers wrote after she was diagnosed with diabetes, and she began to search and found that no one was really giving the relevant information for diabetics, that she began to learn the hard way, because she had to find out for herself, and when the things that work for her, she has put them in this book. And as a matter of fact, it was she who gave me the information that allowed me to come off medication 8 months ago, and I thank God for it. And that's why we have come to the world with this information, so that others can be helped also. Prince?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Griffiths. Then, just your experience was exactly what the doctor told me. The doctor told me that I cheated death.
You cheated them?
Yeah, I cheated death.
Yeah.
Then thereabout, I was put on insulin. It couldn't come down until 2 a.m. in the morning. It came down to 15. They gave me double dose. Till in the morning, it came down to 5. I stayed in the hospital for about 2 weeks. When I was discharged, I met one of our church member who's an evangelist, John, who's a nurse. So she told me, look, she has a colleague who wrote a book, and she was diabetic. When she was diabetic, they told her a lot of things, but she wanted to do research on her own and found out a recipe that took her out of insulin. So she said that she would give me that book. So she presented me this book you're seeing today.
And that is Pauline Byers.
That's Pauline Byers.
So in fact, the path for us to be here today is the same path you walked as I walked.
That's true. That's correct.
Wonderful.
That's correct.
Excellent.
Let me just take you back. I was never on insulin, so that probably was a little bit of misinformation. But I was on tablets. I was on tablets, and I came off the tablets within a week of actually following the principles of whole food, eating whole, and staying away from animal products. And our listeners can actually do it if they try. It is possible.
But I certainly was on tablets and medication. I was on 4 tablets a day and 4 dosage of 58 mils per day.
Of insulin?
Of insulin.
So then, what's been your journey since your diagnosis?
So my journey has been, I was taking I was going to take 30 ml of insulin in the morning and 20 in the evening. But after reading this book and following the principles of this book, what this book said, then what I did was now I started reducing the insulin from 30 in the morning to 22 in the morning, from 20 in the evening to 12 in the evening, without doctor's advice. I did it on my own, based on what I read from this book.
So, the book doesn't actually tell you, though, to reduce your insulin.
No, it didn't tell me that.
It basically tells you to eat different types of food, to raise your vegetables, and to stay away from animal products as much as you can, because some people may have difficulty in doing so, but if you begin to reduce it, it will make a difference. And to exercise. How did you exercise?
Yeah, what I did was I followed some of the advice you gave me in the book, which I did every night after eating. I do a walk of 1 hour walk. I walk a long distance.
Excellent.
Come back. I discovered that I did 1 hour walk every night, and I realized that my sugar level balanced up. And now instead of having high, I'm just having normal of 4, 3, 4, 3. While before I read this book, I was having 9, 10, 11. But when I read this book, I followed. But this book doesn't tell you not to take insulin. But when you read it, when you start exercising, you find out that you don't need insulin more as you were having it before. Because I found out that I started eating, my eating level became very well. I started doing exercises, doing some work. Some places I'm supposed to go by car, I walk it. Now that has really helped me a lot. And today, even my cholesterol, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, my cholesterol was 7 point.
Wow.
And today, my cholesterol is 3.2.
Excellent.
So that's a remarkable improvement in my lifestyle. And I can advise anyone who is watching this channel today to please learn from me, because I could say that I have overcome diabetes. Today, I'm in total control of it. And very soon, I'll be going off insulin, because I'm still following this book very well, and I know that if I continue following this book, what is in this book, I'll go off insulin in the nearest future.
I know you will, Prince, because it took me 8 weeks before in fact, I could have even come off insulin earlier, but I was on insulin for 8 weeks. and it's been now 8 months since I have been off insulin and all medication, and my blood sugar is now down to 3.9. And you must remember that the normal blood sugar is ranging from between
3.5 to 6.5. 3.5 to 6.5. The book itself doesn't advocate you coming off insulin. It advocates you eating foods that are healthy. It advocates you taking on a lifestyle that encourages you to use the muscles that some of us only use in the evening. I mean, we sit down and watch television in the evening, and the only muscle that uses our thumb, changing channels. But this encourages you to walk and to think differently and to take control. And what I said earlier, I stress it again, that if you're going to follow these principles, you need to keep in touch with your medical professionals who are going to give you advice as well. This is about using the foods of the tropics, using the foods that, when I look at it, I mean, this is using the foods of my childhood, going back to what we used to eat in the Caribbean, in the African continent, and actually making best use of them. And bear in mind also that in rural Africa, in rural Caribbean, you don't find so many people with type 2 diabetes. It's only when we are introduced to Western ways of living, a sedentary lifestyle, and that a food that is high in processed foods, high in fat, that these diseases, diabetes is the mother of all diseases, you get it, you get other things, unless you take control.
Pauline, I guess some of our viewers might be wondering who are more prone and are likely to develop diabetes?
Well, the evidence seems to suggest that African Caribbean, Asians, and people of colour are more at risk. And obviously, if people are overweight, they're at risk of type 2 diabetes as well. But having said that, children as young as 4, because of the obesity problem, are being diagnosed with diabetes as well. So, you know, we have a huge shift to make in our thinking.
This is Liberty Hour, and you're watching Love World TV. I want you to get a pen and paper in a short moment from now and take the information that is on the screen, so that when this program is concluded, you will be able to know who to contact and where to get relevant and valuable information that will help you. If you are a diabetic, you will be able to control the diabetes and live a more healthier life. If you're not a diabetic but you are concerned about friends, family, relatives, or loved ones, there is information that we can give you that will be able to point you in the right direction. Also, we'll be opening the lines in a little while from now, so that you can call into Love World TV and speak to us, and we'll be able to give you further information. We have some other guests that will be joining us momentarily, and so we thank you very much for tuning in. Tell someone about Love World TV and Liberty Hour. We are dealing with a number of health issues and matters over the weeks to come. So this week we are continuing from last week, which our subject is diabetes, because of the various knock-on effects that diabetes has upon the body. And so we are continuing with it so that you will be able to have this relevant information and to help you to live a more healthier life.
And to better manage diabetes. Certainly to better manage diabetes. I mean, it's important that people realize that you're not necessarily looking at a cure, you're looking at a better way of managing diabetes.
So we will be right back in a moment. Please go get a pen and paper and take the information on the screen so that you will be able to contact us afterwards. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Right.
You on Love World Television, an opportunity to ask